Hi, my name is Mitchell-Medford. I'm in Biology 16870E with Miss Crystal Taylor. It is November 1st, 2020, Bone Practical. I have my paper, I have my mask, I have my skeleton. Let's get started. The frontal bone, right here. This is the frontal bone. The parietal bone, to the right, number 58, that's the parietal. The temporal is just above the mandible, number 60. The external auditory meatus, this little hole right there. The mastoid process is right there. The styloid process is this cord-like right there. The sphenoid bone is the eye socket. That's the sphenoid bone. Please bear with me, I'm doing this by myself. The optic foramen, right there. Where's the superior orbital fissure? Right there. The occipital bone, then the back. This is the occipital bone. And just below that occipital bone is the foramen magnum. This is the foramen magnum. The ethmoid bone is in the middle of the nose. Right there. That's the ethmoid bone. To the left side, right there, is the middle nasal concha. And just below it, right there, is the inferior nasal concha. The nasal bone, as you can tell, it almost looks as though it is split into two. That's the nasal bone, or number 95, nasal bone. The lacrimal bone, just beside the nasal bone, almost in the eye socket. Right there. The vomer bone, the lower nasal. Right there. That's the vomer bone. The maxilla, I like to say that it is above the teeth. Right here. This is the maxilla. The zygomatic bone is number 12. Right here. The cheek area. When somebody has great cheekbones, they have great zygomatic bone. The palatine bone is to the right. The maxilla, right there. Palatine bone. The mandible, right here. This is just below where the teeth are. This is your mandible. When you break your jaw, you break your mandible. The body, right here. This is the body. The ramus, right here. This is the ramus. The mandibular condyle, right here. The cornoid process, right here, this little blue area. Sutures, right there, on top of the head, right here, is the coronal suture. To the right, right there, to the right. is the sagittal suture, just behind the head, right there, is the lambdoid suture, and right above the mandible, right there, this little suture right there, is the squamous suture. The hyoid bone, the neck bone, not really sure if you can see it, under here, the neck bone, the bone right there, the body, right in the middle, this is the body, the greater horns are the longer attachments, the lesser horns are the shorter attachments. Cervical vertebrae. This whole thing is a vertebrae. Cervical vertebrae are from C1 to C7, which I personally like to call the upper vertebrae. The middle vertebrae, right here, is the thoracic vertebrae. It's T1 to T12, right in the middle of the body. The lumbar vertebrae. When people say, "Oh, my lower back hurts," this is what they're referring to. The lumbar vertebrae. L1 to L5, which is the lower part of the vertebrae. The sacrum is just above the coccyx. Just above the coccyx. Right there. This is the sacrum. The apex, the bottom, right there. The sacral promontory, this little circle part right there. That's the sacral promontory. The ala, or the wings, right here. The ala. And this tad little part right there, that is the articular surface. The coccyx, right here. When somebody says, "I broke my tailbone," that's what they're talking about. They broke their coccyx. The sternum, right here. This connects all of the ribs. The manubrium is the top, right here. This is manubrium. The body, right here. Pretty much the middle of the sternum, the body. The xiphoid process, right there, right here. This is the bottom. The clavicle, when somebody says, "I broke my collarbone," they're talking about their clavicle, which is this bone right here. This is the clavicle. The medial or sternal end is right here on the clavicle, whereas the lateral acromial end is the right there, red part. The scapula, right here, this bone right there. And on the body, you can tell, right there. The coracoid process, little weird notch thing right there, I believe. The acromial, right there. This is the, pretty much to the left. The body, right there. It's also referred to as the suprascapular fossa. The humerus. This is the humor. The humor. humerus. So, right here, this little notch goes in. That is called the head. Just beside the head, right here. That is called the greater tubercle. Right beside it is the lesser tubercle. The condyle, pretty much towards the bottom of the bone. The capitellum is the bottom of the bone, right there. The trochlea, right there. This whole thing called the cornoid fossa. The radius of the arm. The radius is the bigger bone. As you can tell, this is the ulna, this is the radius. Right here, that is the head of the radius. Whole thing right there. That is called the radial tuberosity. The styloid process is right here, pretty much towards the bottom. The ulna is right here. The cornoid process, right there, kind of sticks out a little bit. The styloid process is right there, kind of in a little notch area. Onto the hands. When somebody says, I have carpal tunnel, they're referring to these right here. This bone right here is called the pisiform. Right here, that's called the pisiform. This one, sorry, I was mistaken, is the scaphoid. And you have to remember the pisiform is to the right, I believe, and the scaphoid is to the left. And just beside it, right here, that's the lunate. Metacarpals, these bones right here in red. And the phalanges are your fingers. The coxal bone, this bone right here. This is a coxal bone. It's your pelvic bone. This skeleton, she's right pretty. You can tell she's a female based on the hips being a little wider for childbearing compared to males. They're a little bit more narrow. The ilium, right here. That's the top of the pelvic bone. Right here, little area, is the acetabulum, the greater sciatic notch. Right there, I believe. The articular surface is actually attached to the hip, which is right here. The ischium is to the right of the arbiter foramen. This is the arbiter foramen. It's to the right, so it's right there. The arbiter foramen, as I already said, this hole right here. The pubis is to the left, right there. The superior ramus is the top, and the inferior ramus is the bottom. Moving on to the legs, the femur. You can always tell where the femur is. It's attached to the hip. Right here, this is called the head of the femur. The greater cervical, I think that's how you say it, is right there. The lesser or abductor cervical, right there. The patella is your kneecap. When you hit it on a trailer hitch, it does not feel very well. The top of the kneecap, right here, is called the base, and the bottom is called the apex. The other leg bone, right here, the tibia, is the much larger bone. The tibial tuberosity, right here, that's the tibial tuberosity. The fibula. As Miss Taylor said in class, the fibula is a smaller bone. And how you can tell is when somebody says, I'm telling a fib, or you're telling a fib. That is the smaller bone. Much smaller bone. The head is right here, little blue area. That's the head of the fibula. And the lateral malleus is the shorter bottom. Right there. That's lateral malleus. Tarsals. Tarsals are pretty much the same as carpals in the hands, but they're called tarsals because they're in the foot. These are tarsals. Metatarsals are right here where the red is, and phalanges are the toe area. I thoroughly hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions or comments, please feel free to write them underneath the YouTube link or in the email. Thank you, and again, have a wonderful day.